To order, and the mayor just got himself fired. It's 7 o'clock, Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 at 7 o'clock. And we'll start with roll call to my left.
Homer, City Council.
Dr. Joseph Ford, City Council Member.
Shelby Carslary, City Council Member.
Ronnie Price, Mayor.
Mike Warrington, City Council Member.
Troy Tabor, City Council Member.
Barry, City Council Member.
Buck Buchanan, Chief of Police.
Donna Davis, Chief Financial Officer.
Lance Onstott, Assistant City Administrator.
Chad Russell, Fire Chief.
Rick Lanzis, Director of Public Works and Utilities.
JT Klaus, City Attorney.
Les Mangus, Director, Community Development.
Jessica Williams with City Attorney.
Susan Renner, City Clerk.
Jennifer McCausland, City Administrator.
All right, this time we'll do invocation, and it's brought to us by Daniel Ivy with Anchor Baptist Church. How you doing, sir?
Good. Let's pray. Dear Lord, as we come to you in prayer, we are thankful for the day that you've given to us. We just ask that you'd give us wisdom for all the decisions that we're going to be need to make tonight. I pray that you would just guide and direct in those decisions. We thank you for your protection during the storm, and we just ask you to continue to strengthen and protect our first responders as they continue the cleanup and the day-to-day tasks. Just be with them. We just ask you to guide and direct during tonight's meeting. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, all righty?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this time we'll open up for a public forum. If you'd like to speak, state your name and your address. And I see Mr. Rackley is going to talk with us tonight. How you doing, buddy?
I probably don't need this thing because I'm pretty loud, but my name's Scott Rackley. I'm the HOA president at Reflection Lake. My address is 630 East Shade. Mayor and city council and city staff, thank you for your time this evening. I would like to first thank the mayor for coming out to the neighborhood on April 29th. It means a lot when the leader of a city checks on its residents. Secondly, I'd like to thank Chief Russell for his guys coming to our rescue super quickly. Chief Russell has been a great leader for these guys, and it shows how they perform their jobs. I'd also like to thank Chief Buchanan for how his leadership flows through his officers. Officer Sign and Peltier for assisting in extracting Tam Tran and family from their basement windows. Chief Buchanan definitely deserves a lot more credit than we can offer. Chief Buchanan assembled a staff to help keep our neighborhood safe that evening and the days to follow. I'd be remiss if I didn't include Kansas Gas Company and Evergy for quickly showing up to make the scene safe. And Andover is definitely a great place to live, and the support, love, and response shows. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, and thank you for all your hard work. You put a lot into it, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to come and speak? Come. Yep.
My name is Mick Louderman. I live in Lakeview Heights, 1245 South Aldrich, and we also were affected by the tornado, such as the gentleman over here. I am Secretary Treasurer of our HOA, and I'd like to echo that gentleman's great words. We also felt the support of the city during this time. I'm here to address the paving of the roads, which is going to be voted on tonight. I'd just like to reiterate that the majority of our residents did vote for this, and the majority of our residents are still in favor of it despite the tornado. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, sir.
I'm Dale Padding, currently homeless. No, address is 1331 Aldridge. Really 2 points. One, mirrored what everybody has said about the fire department. Response has been amazing. But we do need the roads. I think to get this neighborhood back, we need something extra. And I think the paved roads are really what's going to help us. I know I'm going to rebuild. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Evening, my name is Tom Schiller. My wife Linda and I have lived in Andover since 1978, and we've lived in Lakeview Heights since 1984. And we too, just like the other two gentlemen said, we voted within our homeowners association for the proposition of having our streets paved. We've done it for several reasons. Number one is the improvement that it will pose now that our landscaping has been rearranged, okay? And number two is, and this is a bit selfish, but we kind of look forward to breathing less dust, chewing less dust, and be able to not have to scrape the mud off of everything. So a vote in that direction would enhance the neighborhood and, in my opinion, would enhance the city. And one more thing, we are totally impressed the way the city and the various governments came in and all the volunteers and rescued our neighborhood. I can't, Linda and I can't thank you enough. And it makes me proud to be a citizen or a resident of the city of Andover. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else? All right. Public forum is now closed. Acceptance of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the agenda as presented. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0.
Mayor Price?
Oh,
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead here on the acceptance of the agenda, but on the consent agenda, there was 2 errors in the meeting minutes for April the 26th, which I have corrected, but they're not in your packet corrected. I didn't realize I was going to upload so many times, but when they get published as a final minutes, they will be corrected.
All right.
Okay?
thank you, Susan. And here we are. Lakeview Heights Edition, Neighborhood Plan.
Mr. Mayor.
We got to vote on 7.
Pardon me?
We need to vote on 7.
Oh, shit.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm sorry.
I move to approve the consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.5 as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. I apologize, Mayor's having trouble this evening. Now we're ready.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself since I also live in Lakeview Heights.
Okay, thank you, Mike. All right, Lakeview Heights Edition, 8-1 Neighborhood Plan. Lance Onstott will talk about all 4 items.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, as you guys are aware, the city from time to time is approached by residents in a neighborhood requesting improvements to the public infrastructure within that neighborhood. If you remember, back in 2021, we did revise our policies on public improvements. Specifically, a portion of that was dedicated to improving infrastructure in neighborhoods that may have substandard infrastructure or were largely designed and constructed before our modern standards are in place. One of those such neighborhoods is Lakeview Heights. The first step in improving these neighborhoods is the development of a neighborhood plan by that policy. That was something we wrote into that policy. So when we were approached by the Lakeview Heights neighborhood, we initiated this neighborhood planning process. The governing body approved a work order with Professional Engineering Consultants, PEC, in December of 2021 to assist in the development of that plan. Josh Golka with PEC, and also as a rep serving as city engineer, is going to largely go over the results of that neighborhood plan, present that plan briefly, pause for any questions that you all may have. Then following that plan, we'll get into some of those items that we traditionally see when we're discussing petitioned projects such as this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Josh.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, longtime listener, first time caller. I've been to a few meetings and have not gotten the opportunity to speak. So excited to be with you this evening. Lance did a great job of introducing the Lakeview Heights neighborhood plan. I won't talk at great length tonight. That plan is included in your packet. Long story short, efforts kind of started over the summer months and wrapped up in fall of 2021. Substandard is a scary word when you think about infrastructure. And what that means is, as Lance commented upon, is it's just not to what we would build a new subdivision to today, but doesn't necessarily represent health, wellness, or a public safety risk. So the Lakeview Heights neighborhood has water and sewer already, so there wasn't a big need to evaluate those utilities. But the feedback really that we got through online polls, as well as a public engagement meeting with the residents of Lakeview Heights, was an emphasis on the paving and drainage. So obviously there's some subsequent agenda items for your consideration this evening. That neighborhood plan is included in your packets. I think the poll graphics are probably the best thing to look at, and where you can see overwhelming support. Over 70% of the residents are in favor of improving the roadways with a matte pavement section, open ditches, new driveway culverts, getting that all cleaned up. There's a low water crossing, if you're familiar with the area, that kind of bisects the subdivision. It's floodplain floodway that comes in towards the northeast side of the neighborhood and then exits the south central side. So would be working with some of the local jurisdictions, Army Corps of Engineers, Division of Water Resources, but we'd be looking to improve that low water crossing. That was also a very popular item. If you're familiar, it's about a 4-inch steel pipe that drains a floodway very ineffectively. And so we're not looking to make a significant box upgrade or bridge improvement, but still improving that so that every time it takes us, we don't have to run out and put up barricades for vehicles traveling through the area. So again, that plan's included in your packets. All the feedback that we got from the residents was very positive towards paving and drainage improvements. And that's what we'll get to with upcoming items. So if there's any questions on the neighborhood plan, I'll certainly do my best to answer those.
Nobody?
I'll reserve my question. I'll reserve my questions maybe for the end after we go over everything.
I also, I guess, have a question not for you, but just in general. But do we need to vote or have a motion first before I raise a question? Or can I just talk?
You will need to accept the plan that's present in the neighborhood plan.
Okay. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the Lakeview Heights neighborhood plan.
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I'm going to ask
sir.
a question regarding the tornado. And since it was very active, obviously, in that area, and we had a lot of buildings damaged, and if I recall, the insurance states that the overall cost of everything together would go against whatever part of it we have to cover. So my question would be, was there any damage to the road itself due to the tornado or cleanup thereafter that we could apply some insurance funds towards this project?
I haven't thought about it from an insurance perspective. It would not be enough, kind of going in a separate direction for the FEMA public assistance. We are, quite frankly, nowhere near the threshold we need to meet to get the FEMA threshold, which is 4.8 million. I received some wages from Donna for just the Friday and Saturday night, I mean, we're about $4.4 million short of the threshold that we have to hit. So
Thank God.
I do not think it would work for that. I could certainly talk to Dusty Davis and see if there is any claim for wear and tear on a gravel road for a response. We haven't looked into exploring that as an insurance claim to date, but I can look into that.
That'd be great. I mean, in any way we can reduce the cost for everyone around, since we're already paying for insurance anyway, and they're going to cover a lot of things anyway. It'd be nice to know. That's all I had.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
so there's no financial implication on the neighborhood plan, correct?
That's correct.
I think it's worth noting and bringing up on the survey. As far as doing the roads, it was overwhelmingly received, but on question number 3, do you support improving stormwater drainage? 44% was yes. And then question 4, if you support stormwater drainage, which improvements would you like to see? 18% improve the low water crossings on Colleen Terrace. So I just think that needs to be brought to everybody's attention. So, all right. So, any further questions? All in favor of neighborhood plan, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 8.2 petition and resolution of advisability.
So following and really during that neighborhood planning process, part of the reason we do that is to kind of gauge, obviously, the interest in the neighborhood and identify any feasible, if there's any feasible projects that come out of that. So obviously, if there is, then we start to refine kind of an estimate, put together that proposed project, and then we ultimately, hopefully, that results in a petition. So before we get into the actual petition that's been submitted, I think I'm going to ask Josh to kind of give you a real brief, quick overview of what the project is that was identified that's subject to the petition and the estimate that was generated. And then I'll talk a little bit about the petition itself and kind of what that sets forth.
So the project in the most general terms is a matte pavement section. So it will remain an open ditch drainage concept. We have included replacing all of the driveway culverts. So one of the challenges that we have with pavement is stormwater. Water is the enemy of pavement in terms of the lifespan. So we want to make sure that any of the existing metal corroded pipes or pipes maybe that have settled over time that have created low spots in the ditches are all replaced, and those ditches are regraded to preserve the life of our pavement. I would like to expand a little bit on the low water crossing comment, actually, and I think where residents had the most concern was a very large box structure or a bridge structure that by conventional terms would allow a 100-year storm event to pass through it. That's not something that they were in favor of. And I think you're seeing that kind of get muddled in those results. Where we did receive a lot of positive feedback is we know this 4-inch, 6-inch steel pipe doesn't really provide any function whatsoever. So anytime there's rain, the roadway's overtopping, creating a safety concern. But is there something that we can do on a small scale, a low water crossing that makes things a little bit easier, significantly less expensive, and still provide a benefit to where we're not closing the road in every rain event? We were able to accomplish that. So the project petition includes replacing that steel pipe with 4 12-inch concrete culverts. We're not significantly raising the road profile. We're able to accommodate that within the grades upstream and downstream. So not a significantly wide structure or significantly tall structure, but a benefit all the same. So yeah, matte pavement sections, ditch grading, driveway culverts, new end sections on all the pipes so that we're not undermining any of the pavement that's over those pipes. But really all of our work is confined within the right of way. We're not doing any significant pond regrading or dredging or anything to that effect.
So in regards to the water coming up to the bridge, it's clogged right now.
Mm-hmm.
There was water going over the bridge yesterday. there is some work that needs to be done prior to the bridge in regards to that water standing. Is that something, is that part of this plan, or what's the story on it?
So the challenging aspect with the answer is no. The challenging aspect with that is getting into potentially habitats and wetlands delineated by the Army Corps of Engineers. So really our focus was just on improving that low water crossing within the right of way. And we'll set it at the elevations that it needs to be to tie in and to drain and to function. But significant upstream or downstream regrading was not part of the plan currently.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Josh, do you have any concerns in regards to, folks rebuilding down there with construction equipment going over a new road? Or when would the road go into place, start construction on the road?
So I think the challenging aspect of the schedule is the review times for Division of Water Resources and the Army Corps of Engineers. So right now, our team is basically programming 4 weeks to complete the field survey, and then approximately 8 weeks of design life. So 12 weeks is when I think is a good indicator of when we could have something on the street soliciting bids. So in that scenario, if permitting weren't a concern, we'd be looking at construction this fall. In all reality, I think the Corps of Engineers may take up to 2 to 3 months, and then you're looking at trying to get started in the winter months, which could be challenging. So as we get to our work order later in council's agenda, we'll see that we're kind of programming in a worst case scenario of construction starting basically early spring 2023. I will say it's not all that dissimilar from a new subdivision where the streets come in and then, the home builders come in immediately following. Pavement sections are pretty hardy. We're also looking at concrete options in addition to asphalt. The construction market is extremely volatile right now. And so what we're trying to do is set ourselves up in the best position, both schedule and material wise, with those alternates. So we're doing everything in our power to get this thing going this year. The only question mark is permitting.
Thanks, Josh. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Lance, in regards to can you go over the financial piece of this as far as the city at large, the benefit district? What's different here versus a new subdivision?
Yes, so as drafted in the petition, there is a cost share between the benefit district, those that own properties within the neighborhood, and the city at large. By policy, the starting point for improvements to streets, so taking for example, a gravel street to a paved street, that share between a city or the benefit district starts at 50%. So 50% city at large, 50% benefit district. The way that this petition is drafted is actually 57% city at large, 43% benefit district. And the reason why is since the open house, we've been obviously working on this neighborhood plan for 6 months now with surveys, public, open houses, multiple revisions to the scope of the project. We've done a lot of work to it, but since we did that initial kind of public engagement, there have been we have identified some additional work that we want to complete in the neighborhood at the same time. That's what's representing that additional city at large percentage. So there's some additional draining, some additional drainage and some additional paving that we want to do at the same time. So that's why you see that 57%, 43% split. In regards to the total petition amount, I believe it is the total estimate that PEC and Josh has produced for us is $1,964,000. So out of that, the city will be responsible for up 57% and the benefit district 43%.
And they'll just take care of that through specials?
Correct. So that portion that is assessed, we'll pay those annually as a special assessment.
Thank you.
And I will point out the homeowners will have an opportunity to pay those in full if they should want to on the front end. We always do that with new subdivisions as well, that you have the opportunity to avoid some of those interest costs should that be the will of the homeowner.
And Josh, you brought up concrete and asphalt, and the reason that is because it's kind of a jump ball depending on what day of the month it is right now, the cost of concrete as opposed to asphalt, correct?
Right, exactly. Contractor availability also.
Okay.
Some contractors don't do their own flat work. So that gives them an opportunity to bid a project that otherwise they wouldn't be able to if it was all concrete. So it gives us the best opportunity for expedited schedule and the best cost.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I guess this question then would go to Rick. I mean, as far as concrete versus asphalt, is there one that's going to be better or worse when it comes to planning for the future with cleanliness? And, do we wait it out and say, hey, we want asphalt versus concrete?
It's a very good question. In fact, we are planning on a future project that would have been out for bid had we not had a recent event. But we pulled it because we had too much going on. It would be out for bid. And we are adding concrete alternate bids to all of our projects going forward that are where it's appropriate. We don't want to try to put a concrete section in the middle of an addition. It's all asphalt and one block of concrete. But the reason being is concrete has a longer lifespan, a lower average maintenance cost. So your return on investment is a little bit higher on concrete. So, we will validate each bid and look at it, and we may make a recommendation to the council that we don't accept the lowest bid if the concrete maybe is just slightly higher than the asphalt, because we're basically buying down maintenance costs at today's dollars way less than it would be going forward on. So the answer to that, does that answer your question?
Yeah. Essentially, concrete's the best when you submit the bid or when you put it out for ROQ, right? Request.
Those actually are sealed bids that we do.
Okay.
Anyone else?
The only other comment that I have on the petition itself before you guys consider that petition is obviously in order for that petition to clear that initial validity, you need a majority of the property of the owners within that benefit district to sign it. So for the record, there's 34 owners of property within that neighborhood that did sign that petition out of 54 that are lots that are included in that benefit district, which is approximately 63%. So majority of property owners did in fact sign that petition. And then the other portion of this particular item is that resolution of advisability, which is should sound familiar. We do these on all petitioned projects. So basically, if somebody requests a project, the utilization of special assessment financing, the governing body has to make a determination that those improvements are advisable.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for adding that, Lance. I guess my question then would be, what are we as a city council then requiring the other 37% of the neighborhood? What are they going to incur then if petition is approved tonight?
Looks like it's like $87 a month.
So our estimate currently at that 43% is an assessment, a monthly assessment of $87 a month. That's using a 20-year assessment term. So regardless, all 54 lots within the benefit district will receive the same assessment. So the majority of owners
said yes.
Lance, I'm assuming the folks that didn't sign are the ones that could we not get a hold of, or they just didn't want it?
I can't answer that question. So a representative from the neighborhood circulated that petition. So I cannot answer it. I know we did have a few that that signed that might have had like 2 individuals on the deed and one had been deceased. So we were pretty conservative in that count. Ones that we didn't have any questions about, but I could not speak for why those that didn't sign.
And I mean, it should be obvious, I guess, but it was a valid petition, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. The petition has been reviewed by your city attorney.
Okay. Then, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept petition for paving improvements and adopt resolution of advisability related to the Lakeview Heights addition as presented.
Second.
All right, I got Tim on that, Susan. And any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Work ordinance, yes.
I move to adopt the ordinance and authorizing the construction of certain internal improvements related to the Lakeview Heights addition.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve work order 22-06 with Professional Engineering Consultants, PA, Wichita, Kansas, for engineering services related to the Lakeview Heights addition in the not to exceed amount of $142,500.
Second.
I would like to point out before we vote that this governing body, this is the reason it's happening, because this governing body approved to make this possible for the city at large to be able to do the road improvements and city at large pick up the tab to betterment of our city. So I just think it's worth noting that they stepped up to do this. So
I do have a question, Mr. Mayor, I
Yes,
guess,
sir.
Lance. If construction cost gets way, I mean, are we still going to be doing this project? I didn't see anywhere in here where there's do we have a grace period, a grace percentage in here, or?
So I believe, and I can pull up, and Josh, I don't know if you have your estimate in there, but I believe we put a contingency in the estimate that we used to generate the petition amount. I can't remember off the top of my head what that was.
Approximately 150,000 or 10% of 1.5 in construction.
Okay. So that petition amount, that $1.964 million roughly, is kind of controls that top end. If we start getting to a point to where we're going to exceed that, then we'll have to
Visit it.
reassess
Okay.
the situation.
Thanks, Lance. Is there a monthly escalation?
Yeah, and that up into that point, so generally we can increase that petition amount 1% per month, starting. I can't remember which date. I'm assuming we probably put from May of 22.
anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Coming back. Mr. Warrington also worked very hard to make this happen, so the neighbors should appreciate his efforts, in my humble opinion. 9, Hodge 6 subdivision, bid award, water, sewer, and drainage.
Mr. Mayor and Council, excuse me. This is more of a standard new subdivision. So this particular subdivision is 100% assessed. So the total contracts for this will be paid for by the property owners through either specials or payment advances, Jenny. So commented earlier. This project was pretty standard in how it was bid, except for it's two subdivisions tied together, kind of smaller subdivisions. So they tied both of them together to get a better bid. And all these bids are tied as one award. So while there might be a lower bidder in one segment of it, it's the total overall lower bidder is the one that is who we're recommending for award, which is Meese Construction. All these items were within the petition limits. However, one was a little bit over 10,000 over the engineer's estimate. Staff is recommending the approval of this, award of this to Meese Construction. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the lowest qualified bid from Meese Construction Company, Wichita, Kansas, in the amount of $970,068 and reject all other bids, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for sanitary sewer, water distribution system, and stormwater drain improvements to serve Hodges 6th and 7th edition.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. 10, Meadowbrook 3rd Subdivision, Final Plat. Justin Constantino.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This one lot subject property is generally located at 804 West Harry Street, just west of South Andover Road. The property was annexed and rezoned from the agricultural 40 zoning district, which is a Butler County zoning district, to the SF2 single family residential medium density district. Both the annexation and that rezoning took place at your March 8th meeting. So the property may be somewhat familiar. The subject property receives access from East Harry Street and is adjacent to both water and sewer service from the city of Andover. The current use of the property is a single family residence. The subdivision committee reviewed this small tract final plat at their January meeting and recommended approval to the planning commission. The small tract final plat was approved by the planning commission at their February 15th meeting, and your task this evening is to accept the land dedications as approved by the planning commission. I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the dedications on the Meadowbrook third subdivision final plat as approved by the planning commission.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
10-2 Developers Agreement. Lance Onstott will speak to us.
As evident from tonight's meeting, obviously, when either an existing subdivision or a new subdivision requires public infrastructure, a lot of times that's financed through the use of special assessments. The owner developer of Meadowbrook Third has elected to not go through that process and fund the sanitary sewer, the public sewer improvements that were identified through the plat process himself. So this is why you don't see petitions and ordinances and resolutions for this particular project. In response, the only item for your consideration for this project is a developer's agreement, and it just is sets forth the relationship between the city and the owner developer throughout this process.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the developers agreement related to the Meadowbrook third subdivision.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. 11, South Fire Station Design Fees Change Order. Chief Russell will speak to us on this.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor and Council, as we discussed at our last workshop, we've moved a long ways through the design process of both the new fire station and the remodel of the current fire station. So as is a broken record for you to listen to, it seems, prices are volatile right now. So unfortunately, we bring you a project that is over budget, as we discussed at the council workshop. The original that we had hoped for was 8 million. It's at 9.5, which is 300 more than you saw last time exactly, from adding a small piece of the project back in. So because of those increases in the actual cost of the two projects put together, there is an increase in the design fee as well. That is included in all the money you've seen. So the 9.5 we're talking about includes this change. But when we did the design fee originally with GLMV in December, we brought that to you with a do not exceed cost. So any penny over that cost, it is your right to approve or not. So we're bringing you this evening a change order for the design fee of $209,061. The math is not as funny as it seems in my head, but it's hard for me to get it fit. So the new total is $699,921. There's also a potential of up to $39,000 in reimbursable expenses. So the total I'm bringing you tonight is up to $738,921. I'm happy to try to answer any questions for you if I may.
I'll shoot one out there, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
I guess what goes into the design that we needed another $200,000 to design it? I mean, I know some of the things that we put in were already put into, they had already designed it. why another $200,000? Do you know?
It's a great question, and I will turn the microphone over to Peter Todd from GLMV Architecture, who's in the room.
Peter.
And like Chief did a great job of explaining where we're at with the project so far. When we started off with the project, we put together an estimate for the budget of the project of being construction costs about 5.5 million. And construction, as you see it now, it's a little over 8 million of where we came through. So that's what our fee was based off of, is that original construction cost being about at that point. So we came through with an original design concept, had a great conversations with the fire department, going through a couple of different designs with them. One of the new ones that you've probably seen right now, when we went through the rendering a couple weeks ago, was that mezzanine space. And we kind of really like honed into on spaces, kind of went back and forth with the project, put together a decon area. Like originally we put together our design fee, like the decon part was not part of the design. So there's some areas within the project that we've gone back and forth a few times with design. So, and that's why the fee where it's at right now, we're basing our original fee off of that 5.5 million for construction cost, and then it being at that 8 point portion where it's at right now.
Is the design fee simply a percentage of the overall cost?
Yeah.
That's why it would go up, because we added items to it.
Yeah. And there's originally we had like the percentage of construction plus like PUD and it was like PUD items. So we add that, we just add that into the same percentage that we had before. So that one is some savings that's happening, right? We're trying to get back to the city right now too, which is pulling that PUD expense back into that percentage of construction.
At some point, he would have come to us at some point. I mean, we've seen a lot of the contractor and, you know, talking with him, but now they actually are doing the design and the actual prices. So they couldn't really come to us 2 months ago or 3 months ago because they didn't have that set yet, right?
Yeah, so the timing is accurate, Mr. Warrington. So as we talked about at the council workshop, we've been months now working on schematic design, and Les is smiling at me because I'm learning all kinds of new terms as we go through this. But once we've gotten to the bottom of schematic design, now we've turned it over to them, and we're going to start talking about fine details. But now is when the architect's work really starts to happen. They're going to have to put numbers to the paper to make sure everything fits together correctly.
Thank you. I just, when I heard $300,000 increase, you know, for the mezzanine, I was fine with that. 5% of that is not
right.
209,000. So that's, I guess, where I was.
Okay, now I understand your question better, because when we talked about pre-mezzanine, the price was already more than we had planned for in the beginning, right? We were 1.2 million over when we brought you that at the workshop.
Mhm.
We're 1.5 over now. So the 209 has this much to do with the mezzanine and this much to do with
the overall project.
Yes, the fact that we were 1.2 million over when we brought it to you 2 weeks ago.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So Chief, so now that we're at this point, from what I understand with this construction plan that you've got put together, anything that is not within, I guess, the contractor's budget, he's going to be the one that has to scrape the pennies and make things work, right? Or find different products or that type of thing.
So until we
is
get,
he going to be coming back at us next month for another 300,000? I mean, is this how this is going to keep playing out? Is what I'm wanting to know.
yeah. And Peter will correct me if I'm wrong. So watch to see if he's shaking his head no or yes. Until we get to the guaranteed max price in this CMAR process, there still can be a little bit of wiggling. But I will tell you that your contractor has added some contingency fees in there to take care of that. So their plan is, and also they've shot everything just a tiny bit high. You can't go very high on this big of a project, right? But they're just at the top edge. So their plan is for the cost not to increase from here. But that's not a guarantee.
Bled every time we come
Nope,
to a
I get it.
meeting for, you know.
Well, we
product.
also have to remember, we're comparing apples to oranges. He is the guy that is that's just writing the plan out on the paper.
I understand that, Tim.
you know.
I'm still the same project. So-
Correct.
My expectation is that the 9.573 is going to be the top. But I'm the fire chief. I'm not the designer
Yeah.
or the contractor.
Okay.
So, Dr. Ford, I would be upset with them if they bring me cost overages from here.
What's
Now-
our ETA on that guaranteed date? I mean, is that guaranteed time when we get it? Is that 3 months away, 6 months away?
So I think actually the way it's going to end up working, and they're still trying to figure out the best way to advise us on this, but it is very possible we're actually going to have two GMAX prices. So the first one is those long lead items that are really volatile
Mhm.
and the underground. And then the second one is the rest of the project. So we're within 3 months.
Yeah.
Today's May. Yeah, 3 months or so of getting that first GMAX. So that's going to be a portion of the project. And then within 2 months after that, a month after that, somewhere.
Yeah.
So within 4 months-ish, we'll be bringing you a GMAX price.
Okay.
And then at that point, once we have the GMAX, then we've agreed with the construction manager that this is the price of the project. Now, one of the things as I was going back and forth about this, I asked the very same question you asked. Why are we spending more money on design? And so one of the things I locked down with not the contractor, the architect, was I don't want you to come back later and say, well, now we have another price increase because we figured out this is different. That's not my problem. It is my problem if we change the design. And there might be a small problem if, and we went back and forth on this, if we find out that those long lead items are impossible or they're going to derail the project. So we have to change from X to Y, then we may have to have PEC, which is a subcontractor of theirs. We might have to have them do a little bit of work. And Peter, in which case, is that on us?
And then right now, what we're seeing for lead times of mechanical equipment, like Chief talked about with price increases, Crossland came back to us and let us know that there's some units right now they're going to have to be more efficient, like series ratings are going to go up. So they're accommodating for that too. I think that's in June when those are going up. So that's trying to get met right now. And all the mechanical equipment that we're looking at, we're not seeing any issues with that for lead times. But like Chief brought up, we want to have two packages so that those get ordered early because we do see a longer lead time. But if we get that ordered at like 60% construction documents, that'll help us out to everything still on track and on time for construction.
So what I heard was, we believe this is the price, but there is no contractual guarantee that this is the price. Did I hear you?
And
correctly?
Crossland is, I believe, 'cause I don't remember if we got the verification from yet, but at 60% construction documents is when they'll have that GMAX price.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the change order with GLMV Architecture for increase of the design fees for the fire station project and authorize the mayor to sign the same. Do I have to say an amount?
It'll be in the minutes. The amount of it will be in the minutes. It's not-
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pierre.
Thanks, Peter.
Central Park Facility Repair, Central Park Lodge, Rick Landreth is going to explain this to us.
Mr. Mayor and Council, probably over the next few months, you're going to get a lot of these type of things come to you. We did sustain some damage to some of our facilities in the Central Park, and we're working with the insurance company. One of the things that the insurance company needs us to do to get a full assessment on the lodge is weather it in on the ends. There's a leaning wall structure on the south end and a leaning awning that needs to come down. The south wall is a non-load bearing wall, so they're going to remove that wall section and just weather it in with some fiber reinforced plastic. On the north end, they're going to remove a couple of the trusses that are broke and build some temporary boards in there just so they can put weathering in and get that weathered in. And then they have to go in and remove the sheetrock and the insulation so the insurance company then can come in and validate the structure integrity of the overall structure. They couldn't give us a full, complete rating on the building with it being, the walls being covered up and they couldn't see the connectors and so forth. So this is something that is covered by the insurance company, and we have to send it to them and get their blessing before we proceed. But this is something they will pay for 100% as part of our insurance, and it's included in an overall deductible. The insurance company has reviewed and validated the cost for this work and has given us the go-ahead to proceed. If anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to try to answer those for you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to authorize the execution of a proposal from Icon Structures Incorporated, Andover, Kansas, in the not to exceed amount of $40,205 for work related to security and insurance purposes for the Central Park Lodge as a result of damage from the April 29th, 2022 tornado.
Second.
Any further discussion?
What's the timeline on this, Rick?
They actually believe they can start on Monday.
Monday.
I'm sorry, on Monday.
Monday, May 6th. I
So
just
that's,
saw it on here, May
that's
16th.
pretty quick.
All right, any further discussion? Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. 12-2, Central Park Maintenance Facility.
So as I mentioned previously, there's going to be a few of these, and this is the second one tonight. The Parks Shop building sustained some pretty substantial damage to the roof structure. It's a metal roof. The insurance company brought out a structural engineer and evaluated it and deemed the roof to need to be replaced, just the metal roofing. We happened to be working with Walty Roofing on some issues with that roof anyway, so they already had all the dimensions and everything else. So we got a hold of them to get us turn around a fairly quick proposal. Metal roofing is something we can get. It's a couple weeks lead time, but they feel like they can get it and get going in this market. Can't always assume that. This has been reviewed by our insurance carrier, and again, is something that the insurance company will reimburse us for fully. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer those.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Move to authorize the execution of a proposal from Larry Walty Roofing Incorporated, Andover, Kansas, in the not to exceed amount of $61,609.26 for work related to the Central Park Maintenance Facility as a result of the damage from the April 29th, 2022 tornado.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I do have a quick question for Jenny. Do we know the turnaround time of being reimbursed?
I don't know the turnaround time on being reimbursed. They were out actually the day after the tornado for the first review. So think that it'll be prompt, but I don't know the exact number of days to expect that. I can tell you our deductible. So you'll remember when Dusty Davis comes and he talks to you about liability insurance and he tells us it's a per occurrence policy. And we're always kind of like, well, what are the chances you take 14 cars out in multiple buildings? Well, now it turns out it was relatively good. And so for that one event, that one occurrence, your $50,000 wind hail deductible will cover the lodge. It will cover the roof at the parks facility. It will cover multiple other storage facilities that are in the park that are no longer. And then the deductible on the vehicles will be the $500 deductible, and that will cover all needed repairs for all 14 of those vehicles.
Not bad. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I guess I want to ask our roofing guy, Mike, do you see any issues with it or anything?
No. I looked at it, and Larry Walty is a good company, so they'll do a great job.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Mayoral appointments, Lance Onstock.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Marla Canfield, who was one of the original appointees to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, has regrettably submitted a resignation from that particular board. Notably, she does serve on our planning commission and subdivision committee. Very involved, but some professional obligations. She works for the state of Kansas are going to prevent her from being able to attend. And she would much rather have that spot be with somebody who can give it the attention it deserves. So that's the first item. 13.1 is the consideration of that resignation. 13.2, I'll go ahead and explain and then turn it over to you all. We went back to the original applicants that weren't appointed to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, asked if they still remained interested. And we also had some communication with some residents that were interested. So we put all those together, gathered all that information, provided it to the mayor for an appointment. And you all can see his appointment in your packet. Any questions about the resignation or appointment, and we could definitely try to answer.
Wasn't Marla also on the strategic planning, or was she?
Planning Commission,
It
Board
doesn't
of,
matter. She's been
Board of
very
Zoning Appeals and Subdivision Committee.
Yeah, I think she did help present the Economic Development 101 presentation, which was presented by Department of Commerce, who she works for.
Okay. Very active in helping us out.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the resignation of Marla Canfield from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. 13.2, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board appointment.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the mayoral appointment of Rick Strofe to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to a term set to expire in January 2024.
I tell you what, and his credentials stood up very, very, very strong, and he's also a friend of the city, so it's a good decision. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. All right, we're to the,
Mr. Mayor, I would point out that Rick is here tonight, so if you have not had the opportunity to meet Rick, I'm sure he'll stick around for a minute after the meeting if anybody wants to say hello.
Welcome aboard. Lots for you to do now.
all right, member items. You want to start? Rick, start with member items, would you please?
Okay. So I just wanted to take the time to thank the following cities, counties, and governmental agencies, in addition to several local and regional contractors. Butler County Public Works and KTA, both almost every day except for Sunday through today, have been on site with a vast majority of people and equipment working very hard. The city of Wichita, city of Derby, city of Wellington, city of Hutchinson, city of Newton, city of Valley Center, city of Augusta, and Sedgwick County all have been here also. Contractors that volunteered their staff time equipment, Crossland, which I would comment was at 10 p.m. till about 6 a.m. the night of the tornado, which helped us drastically and allowed us to send most of our public works staff home so that we could begin the process of debris removal the following day without having staff up all night. We also had Icon, SEMA, Andel Construction, Integrity Construction, and Andover Rental donate. They donated a mid-size front-end loader. Icon, SEMA, Andel, and Integrity worked here multiple days. None of these people asked for a dime. They all volunteered their services. We have almost cleared the right-of-way of every property at least once that was damaged in this event. Also, the park has made tremendous progress in debris removal in the past 11 days. We're not done. We have more to do. But the progress that we have made would not have been possible without the generosity of the previous mentioned groups. And I just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you. And indeed, from all of us, thank you for all the neighbors and man, volunteers from all over the place. And it was just overwhelming to see people that very night out helping their neighbors. And Mike's neighborhood experience that they were just all out there in the dark trying to help people out. It's just the list is so long of people that come to bat for our city, and very impressive, the turnaround time, and city staff, man. Y'all are amazing, all right? You done above and beyond what anybody could even imagine in this shorter period of time. And from literally the folks in the park to City Hall, it's just been truly amazing to watch y'all coordinate this, and Fire Chief and Captain Graber. Captain Graber was out in front doing a lot of speaking to the media, and it's just bravo. I'm glad to be your mayor. You know, I'm glad to be with y'all. You make the city very proud and do a lot of good work. Thank you very much.
That was really nice, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Bring a couple questions. One for JT, and I've probably asked you this a million times, but with the infrastructure projects and all the new building that's been going on in Andover and recovering infrastructure costs and such, are we anywhere near lowering our bond ratings based on the amount of outstanding money that we have tied up in this and these different projects? That was a look. Did you see that look?
Yeah.
All right.
That was a look.
Well, it would be a better question for your financial advisor, because I'm not one. But, and so what I will say is the ratings agencies will never tell you what they're thinking, or else they wouldn't be able to charge us to give us a rating.
That's awful.
But the thing I will say is we've received no indication associated with any sort of a downgrade, if that's your question, to date. And normally that's even preceded by a negative outlook, which we haven't received as well. The thing to keep in mind about additional indebtedness is it's also usually representative of growth. So to the extent you're growing to support that additional debt, and the things they're looking at as it relates to overlapping debt and debt in general, honestly, there are more things that could influence your rating than could happen in this room or would happen in connection with associated debt. Overlapping debt in particular, huge increases in county, school district, or other debt could have a larger effect, quite frankly, than even just your direct debt. So that's why I have a financial advisor. It's Dustin's responsibility to keep an eye on that, and I haven't been made aware of any concern.
Okay, I just know that we've had a lot happen with, even the school bond, and then all the projects we're working on, and all the stuff that we have to pay for. And it's unfortunate. It's not easy to just say, oh, if it's a percentage of this number, you're going to go down, which obviously it's not. So I'm sorry we can't answer it in that way.
Well, I can tell you that the last time we were reviewed was right before we did the bonding for the TIF project with the parking garage, and our rating was not lowered at that point, and that was a huge bond.
Okay.
So
yeah, that was a big, yeah.
So at that point, we were still stable. They didn't downgrade our rating at all.
Okay.
And to that point, we go through that rating prior to going through the bonding process. So that's when we kind of get an indication if there's going to be a problem.
And me bringing up the bond, for those that don't know, is simply we get we don't get as good of an interest rate on our bonds if our bond rating goes down. So, and it sounds like we're great. And that's all because of the staff and how they manage things, by the way. Did you have anything to add? You looked at me funny again. Okay, so the second thing I wanted to mention was I went to the WAMPO meeting today, and there was quite a bit of really interesting information. But one of the items that wanted to just bring up was the 54 project. Right now, they've broken it out into two phases. Phase 1 is just barely east of 159th Street. And then phase 2 goes beyond Prairie Creek Road. So that's two phases. And their first look at the project, they have to do an EPA study. That'll be done in January of 23. So January of next year, that'll be the EPA study. And then phase one will be worked on between July 23rd of 2023 and then the end of December, sometime in December of 25 is when they expect that project to be done. There's a follow-on project currently, which is 96, K96, which would follow that construction, and that would be done in 2028, roughly, you know, as far as these numbers go. And then as far as the money to go towards the project, which would be phase two for us, it really hasn't been identified yet, the money to pay for it, although it's top priority in all of the discussions. And I know Jenny was in one, I think was it yesterday with SCK TC, which is the South Central Kansas Transportation Coalition. I know that good. So that's great, but know that the construction on that wouldn't even start until 2028 or later, probably. That sound valid, Les? So for those that are thinking about when it's going to happen, that's probably the earliest it could happen is 28. That's all.
6 years from now.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really not.
But
I mean,
but it's a lot earlier than it ever would have happened. And Julie Lorenz is all over paying attention to this, and she's kind of took it on as her to do. Man, she's really stepped up along with Ty Masterson, Senator Masterson, to do everything they can to expedite things. So it's yeah, if it wasn't for them two working together, we probably wouldn't see it for a lifetime. So
do we start on our right-of-way acquisitions now or wait years or?
They told me today, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even frontage and backage roads would be smart if we could figure out how to start or move on those.
But would any of that be reimbursed, or is that our part or
That's
our
on our
donation?
10% part. At least for the discussion I had today, they were saying the 10%. It would go towards that.
Acquisitions for the project that has funding, the phase one, would have to wait until that NEPA environmental review is done in January. KDOT has a team of people working on identifying that right away, but they can't turn anyone loose to acquire it until after the NEPA review is complete. Now, I will tell you, I had a lunch meeting today with a group of folks from that project management team and Brent Turstrup, the District 5 engineer, and we're going to try to work towards acquisitions on phase two outside of the big KDOT project because we think we're a little more nimble and we can move quicker than sometime next year.
Thank you.
anyone else?
Do we, Mr. Mayor, do we have an idea of when the park will be back open, Rick?
So we've talked internally amongst staff on this, and hopefully Thursday we'll have a security fence around the lodge, and that'll be secured. At that point, I think we could probably start looking at opening up. We've made a lot of progress in that, but with the lodge in the condition it's at, I'm not really super excited about just opening the door up. So hopefully that gets done Thursday, and then we can move forward and make that decision. Yes.
The playground is still kind of on schedule. I mean, ish.
It is on schedule-ish. Yes, it's actually, yeah. We've talked, maybe we can kind of time the opening of the park, and that just depends. They're close. I haven't walked over there in the last 2 days. So had a little side distractions, but I have been over there in the last few days, or a couple of days ago, and it was still progressing pretty fast. So they're pretty close.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to also say a bunch of thanks to the workers in my neighborhood, especially Butler County. Man, they have just gone way out of their realm of doing anything. It's neighborhood just check. So I appreciate it.
with the economy and the tornado and everything that Andover's has experienced, the show will go on. Right now, they're out there preparing to do darn it, just slipped my mind, Music Theater of Wichita. And to the people that lost their homes and stuff, I'm super proud of how they've been upbeat. You know, house after house, they were like, we didn't lose nobody. They lost their home, and the only thing they say to me is, we didn't lose anybody. And so I encourage them to keep living to the extent you can and enjoy what Andover has to offer this summer. We will keep moving forward. We're not going to slow down. And I'm very proud of all of them that just, man, they're just upbeat, and I just don't know how they are. But I'm very proud of them, just their outlook on, we'll rebuild and we'll keep moving. So, and I also want to say thank you to Sherry Price, that's been married to me for 31 years. And I don't know how in God's name she's hung on to me that long, but she has. So bless her heart, man.
Here's to Sherry. Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank staff too. I think showing, we have all the heads in here, departments, chiefs, Rick, Lance, Jenny, but even the staff, underneath you showed up and said, hey, whether it was Graber doing the news things or Roosevelt, it was seamless when you talk about the administration part of it. And I think that's just to be commended and just proud of staff in our city.
Yep. Especially for the night of the storm, the mayor was calling me trying to find out where my son was located. So.
Mr. Mayor, I'm disappointed in myself because I failed to bring a Stand with Andover sign to the meeting tonight, but those are available. Do we still have some at City Hall? We do still have some. So anyone, business or residents who want to come and pick those up, we had a generous business print me a sign, printed 250 to start us with. Ameritrust Bank has stepped up and printed, I believe between Ameritrust and Midwest Source, we're going to have 1,000 Stand with Andover shirts printed that we will have later this week. We're going to continue to work that and try to rally the community together with the same rally cry that we're going to stand together and we're going to get through this and we're going to be stronger on the other side.
I noticed that was on the billboards clear over by Augusta. So, by the way, the surrounding mayors of Butler County have reached out to me and supported us, man. It's just, man, Kansas is a special place, man. It just is, it just stuns me that the people that just come from all over the place to help us get through this. We got a long way to go, and there's no mistake, but we'll get through it better than before. So,
Mr. Mayor, I have one thing left, but if y'all haven't driven by the Heritage, the crane has gone up. It's kind of a cool sight to see in the middle of Andover and Andover. So
yes, it is.
For the parking garage. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to look at. So
I could add one more thing if you don't mind.
Please.
I don't think I did before, but so we had a delegation from Berlin come that was the director for Center of Entrepreneurship for around Berlin University. And he came through and he had been to New York and other places and obviously came through Wichita. And he pulled me aside after it was over and he's like, Troy, I don't think you understand what you guys have here. I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, I've been to all these places and I live in Berlin and I do what I do. And you guys, meaning Kansas, us, you simply want to help each other. Nowhere else is it like this. You don't even know what you have. It's pretty special for someone to come from Berlin and talk about us in that way. And it was 1,000% on show, on point when this tornado happened. And that was before the tornado when he came through. He was just commenting on what we have here. It's very special.
Very cool.
All right. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned. Thank y'all.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you an email about the